So we're here to talk about Fresh Cuts and to meet the 5 recipients of Fresh Cuts this year. But before we do that, we're going to talk a little bit about the origins of Fresh Cuts with these esteemed colleagues from ITV. So before we do that, I just want to talk a little bit about Fresh Cuts for anyone who's not familiar with it. So Fresh Cuts was a call out for up-and-coming black filmmakers, offering them the opportunity to helm one of 5 new films that the network will commission for Black History 2022. It was designed to create opportunities for black talent who are ready to produce and direct their first film and have not previously been commissioned by ITV. They should be able to demonstrate that they have relevant experience to step up into the role, for example, with previous experience as a shooting AP or DV director. So we're going to jump into a conversation now to talk to these esteemed individuals. So we have Rawliffe, Group Director of Diversity and Inclusion at ITV. We have Panesar, Commission Editor and Factual Entertainment for ITV, and we have Lara, Akeju, Executive Producer for Fresh Cuts. So welcome to you all.
Hi.
Hi.
Applause, we didn't even do anything.
Yeah, exactly. They haven't done anything yet. You guys are applauding. So I feel like this is gonna go well. So I'll tell you what, Sat, let's start with you.
Sure.
So can you tell us a little bit about how the idea for Fresh Cuts was first conceived?
Yeah, sure. So we at ITV have marked Black History Month for the last 2 years, and it's been great. We've had some amazing films, but this year we thought we'd approach it from a different sort of angle. What we really wanted to be able to do is demonstrate something that meaningful change off screen. So we thought we started with a point of, well, where are the big issues that we are facing as an industry in general? And I think directors are one of the key stepping stones and growth points for individuals behind screen. And I know Ade has all the stats, but they're woefully underrepresented from black communities. So we thought, well, why don't we attack it from that angle? And it grew from that point, and we thought, well, why don't we get stories as well from the directors and help them sort of nurture them in a sort of really 360-degree way where they can start shaping the ideas, and we can help nurture them in terms of skills, and then so we get a great film at the end of it for the network.
Brilliant. And Ade, prior to Fresh Cuts, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about the other initiatives that ITV had when it comes to tackling issues around diversity.
Yeah, I mean, we, like many broadcasters and many organisations and companies, were really aware that we hadn't done enough as quickly as we should have done. And so, you know, these last few years have been really challenging for us all. I think the pandemic highlighted inequality in a way that we couldn't look away from. And then we had the Black Lives Matter protests and the murder of George Floyd. And I think organisationally, we just wanted to do more. So we launched our Diversity Acceleration Plan, and it had sort of 5 things in it, which we report on every year. We'll be reporting on them again in July. But it's about, I mean, I'm not going to go through all the initiatives, but the main things are around senior leadership, so addressing senior leadership. We're the first FTSE 100 company to have a group director of diversity on its board. Then it's things like on-screen representation. I mean, we did some really interesting research, and it said ITV is quite good at representation, but we're always the best friend, or we're always, you know, the sidekick. We are never the main protagonist. So we did a lot of work around lead presenters who were driving the narrative. So this year, things like, you know, Mo Gilligan presented The Brits. We've got a drama series that Adegbulu, a black writer who's been working with Shonda Rhimes, has written called The Riches, which is coming out later this year. So it's about things which you had black characters leading the narrative, or McDonald's and Dodds, a very sort of sleepy, gentle ITV drama which has a lead detective that's a black woman. And so it's all that sort of stuff. So we did a lot of work around that. And then behind the camera, we do an initiative called Step Up 60, which Narain, who's here, runs. And that's about stepping people up to more senior roles in the industry. You know, Sat and Lara have worked a lot on that as well, because we've got to have a proper talent pipeline. And so what we've done is we did Step Up 60 for 1 year, and we're now doing it for our 3rd year. So that'll be 180 people we've stepped up, because I think when things work, you have to keep doing them if you want to change the structure. And then we've announced our 80 million commissioning fund for diverse-led indies, which will be over 3 years. And again, we're just trying to change the structure of the industry. And then finally, the big thing that we did is we committed to educating ourselves. So we've all had race fluency training, we've all had disability awareness training, and I think we had to recognise that we didn't know enough, so we all had to go through that. So those were the things that was really important. And I think that I'd just say about Fresh Cuts is that it's about talent. So we want access to the best talent. So we're really excited that 5 people got on the scheme, but a load of people didn't get on the scheme, and we've kept all their details as well, because again, for ITV, it's business critical that we have the best talent working for us, and we haven't been good enough at attracting them. So initiatives like this really, really help.
Yeah. So tell me about how many people applied for Fresh Cuts.
Gosh, we had hundreds.
Yeah, over 100 people applied. And, you know, really good applications, really interesting ideas, but we had to choose 5. And so we did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're going to speak to our filmmakers quite shortly. But can you tell us a little bit about the criteria behind the selections?
So, but we were looking for films that we really felt could resonate with a broad audience, as well as being very specific about the black experience. So all the ideas, as their starting point, have an in that anybody could relate to, and just feel like a film you really want to see, but they are very specifically rooted in the black experience, and that's what our directors bring that other people wouldn't. Films that could play on ITV that just feel like something that viewers would want to watch and would enjoy.
Yeah, I think the thing is we really wanted to be contemporary about the way we represented black lives on screen, and also change the narrative from what we'd done previously. I think a lot of these films have a lot of joy in them. They have a lot of interesting perspectives that I think we haven't necessarily shown prior in some of our other Black History Month offers, you know, and I think that's what's exciting about them, and I think what some of them hopefully could have bigger lives than just the one-offs, which would be really brilliant and a real indicator of success for something like this. So yeah, they're good.
And I think for us as well, you know, we're a mainstream broadcaster. So what we're trying to do always is shift the mainstream. So what we're looking for is different perspectives, but we're looking for different perspectives that will appeal to a broad audience. So that's one of the things that was really attractive for us in the films that we selected.
Definitely.
Yeah. Good. And I wanted to go back to you, Adeyemi, and ask you about the objectives of Fresh Cuts and how it ladders up to the wider strategy of ITV and the strategy around corporate social responsibilities. Perhaps we could spend a bit of time talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of don't see it as corporate social responsibility. I see it as business critical. So I think that what we need to do is we need to attract the very best talent. And our data shows us that black talent is underrepresented. So, you know, the Diamond Fifth Cut said 1.8% of directors are black, which is rubbish, and, you know, against the population of 3%. So we have to improve that. So this is about us sort of disrupting the talent pool and getting more directors into ITV. And it's just really important because, you know, our audience are black, and if we're not representing them or seeing their experience on screen, they've got a choice now. They can go to Disney Plus, they can go to Netflix, they can go to Apple. So it's really, really important for us. So I see it absolutely as a major objective, just like viewing figures are a major objective. I think who makes our shows are a major objective for ITV.
And you know, with all of these things, when they get greenlit, there's always the question about impact and what the impact of the project is. So, Lara, perhaps if I can come to you and ask you about the desired impact for Fresh Cuts. What does success look like at the end of this process for the filmmakers and for ITV?
Yeah, well, obviously from ITV's perspective, obviously we want lots of people to watch and enjoy these films. But more than that, it's about the filmmakers using this really as a stepping stone for the rest of their career, and to be making films about anything for anyone, not just ITV. It's about building on this. I want to, you know, feel like any one of us could be working for these directors in the future. They'll be the executive producers and the business owners of the future, because that's what they should be doing, and that's what we're going to support them to get there.
I think you can see, you know, if you look at a lot of indies that are mainstream big indies, you look at whether they're the top creative level with the heads of departments, the execs, there is not enough representation. And this is the first step to actually get everyone on the ladder, to move them forward, to make sure that we are looking to support them in all of their next steps. You know, it'd be great if they're serious producers and within a year or 2 years' time, or then execs and then heads of department. I mean, that's how you make change and create a pipeline going forward.
But also I would say that the people we've chosen are incredibly talented, because I think that when most people go for a director's job, they're not competing against 100 other people. Well, these guys have had to get their job. So I just think that, you know, the talent is the thing that will shine through.
Always.
And while we're talking about the filmmakers who you all meet, this is the first time they've been revealed to the general public, so it's a very exciting time. But just before we meet them, a lot of them are making that transition from, you know, making shorter form content into an hour-long feature documentary on ITV. How have you helped them with that transition? Because it feels like that's quite a big and quite a steep learning curve. So perhaps, I don't know whoever wants to take that, but how have you helped with that transition?
I mean, I think you're right, and that is the case for, I think, almost for all of them. And it is about understanding what it takes to make an hour of television in terms of having a story that keeps the viewer watching through the different parts. You know, we're on ITV, we have commercials to keep people through the commercial breaks, to drive the narrative, to have and also the amount of footage you have to shoot and to tell the story. So a lot of my role is really helping the filmmakers to understand what story they're telling and how to make that play across 60 minutes.
I think the really important thing with any sort of initiative, and I think we've all seen as individuals and diverse individuals as well, how many initiatives are pumped into the industry year on year on year. And I think the key thing is we have got a responsibility to ensure success. And what success, we've sort of told you what success might look like, but how do we ensure success? We have Lara, who's such a brilliant exec to, you know, nurture and guide them through the editorial process. You know, I'm here from the commissioning side to really make sure that as ITV channel, we're behind this on every single part of it, whether it's, you know, making sure we get marketing or, you know, the right budgets, kind of everything across the board. You know, and Ade and her team are with Narain are doing an amazing job to make sure that we are absolutely looking to create bespoke sort of like training whatever is required in terms of the broader support for the individual. So I think it's a really good way to try and actually make sure that this could come back again and we could potentially supersize it and do more. And actually what's great about it, that we're trying it for Black History Month now. There's no reason why something like Fresh Cuts cannot be applied to any other marginalised communities that are not represented behind screen and on screen within the television landscape.
And I mean, you kind of alluded to my next question about, you know, Fresh Cuts coming back. Like, is that something that you've spoken about and something that you'd like to happen?
Well, the thing about, as we were saying before, what we've got to do is we have to do more of things that work and less of things that don't work. And we have to be honest with ourselves and say, that hasn't worked, let's stop doing it. And I think in the past, as Sat talked about, with diversity initiatives, we haven't scrutinised whether they've worked or not. But I think this, because it's absolutely content-based, so it's making content. We've got the launch of our new streaming platform, ITVX. The films will sit on that, won't they, after? Well, they'll come out in October, but then they'll get on the X as well afterwards. Everything goes in X. Everything ends up in an X. And so I would hope that if it was successful, we would absolutely do it again. Because like I say, if you want to drive sustainable change, things that work, you have to keep doing. And you have to, you know, put resource around them for a period of time until you have equity. And we haven't got equity yet, so we have to keep doing it.
Yeah, great. So just before we introduce the filmmakers onto the stage, which is very exciting, Lara, I'd like to come to you. Like, what surprised you about, you know, working alongside the filmmakers? Is there any sort of nuggets you'd like to share with us about?
Well, to be honest, I have been just really impressed by the dedication, by the commitment to their ideas in the first place. They came to us, all of them, with really great ideas, a really clear vision of what they wanted to do. You know, and I can help guide them, but, you know, they will, you know, fight for what they believe in and what they really want to do, which I think is really impressive. And they are really creative. In terms of, I've been on shoots with all of them now, and all of them are so professional, obviously, you know, and just so really inspiring to me as well, as somebody who, you know, I've been in commissioning roles for the last 9 years. I haven't been on location for a long time, but just seeing these young people, not all young people, sorry, they're actually quite a range of ages among them. But yeah, just it's really inspiring just to see this new group of filmmakers coming through who I know are going to really, really change the industry.
Yeah, I was never even a director. I don't know how I've managed to get up to here, but it's like just listening to, like, when they talk about the visuals and stuff, like when David was saying about you can film his film, it's basketball, he'll tell you about it a bit later, in this way and that one, I was like, oh my God, I don't even know what those things are he's talking about, but it obviously sounds very good. So it's great. And or, you know, when Daniel's talking about his film and what he wants it to achieve, it's really great to hear the perspectives that are being brought that don't feel like I've heard them before, you know. And I think, you know, Louise in her film, what she's, the personal sort of narrative that she's going to bring to hers as well. I'm referring to them like you know them, but you don't at the moment, but you will. And I think that's really inspiring because it actually is going to challenge me to make anything else I commission in a different way or look at it in a different way. And I think that's the whole point, as Ade said. It's like we are a creative industry. We need different voices. We need to hear how other people see things in order to make everything better, you know, and especially as a general TV ecology where we're facing sort of big sort of like, you know, existential questions about the global streamers and stuff. This is the answer, is to actually think creatively and actually find new creatives.
Yeah, no, I would agree with all that, and I think that it's all these things always work where we are gaining as much as we're giving. I mean, we absolutely are, and already you can sort of feel the ripples through factual of having different people come in with different ideas, and that's the bit that I'm most excited about.
Yeah, definitely.
Brilliant. Well, I think we've built it up quite a bit now.
We have, haven't we?
So,
Yeah, come on, you guys better deliver now.
So I'd like to, before we introduce our filmmakers up, I'd like to thank Ade, Sat and Lara for speaking to us about Fresh Cuts. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you.
So we have our 5 filmmakers, recipients of Fresh Cuts. We have Louise Coleman. David Adeyemi, Daniel Dempster, Jason Osborne, and Yemi Adegbulu. So welcome and congratulations for being the first recipients of Fresh Cuts. So I wonder if you could all just introduce yourselves and your project for everyone here.
I'm Daniel Dempster, and my project is about rap. It's called Everyone Can Rap, and it's teaching 3 people who've never rapped before how to rap. But there's a lot of layers to it. I'll just leave it as that.
I'm Louise. My film's called The Bottom Line. It's all about Brazilian butt lift surgery and how much of an online phenomenon that's become, first in terms of the standard of beauty changing and also within pop culture and social media. And it's just like an hour-long doc really dedicated to exploring the whole world of that. So yeah, I'll leave it there.
I'm Jason Osborne, and my film's called Our Jubilee, and we're looking at the previous jubilees but through the lens of the black community. So not just whether they celebrated or not, but also looking at those years and looking at the socially and culturally, and almost looking at it as a kind of social and cultural history.
Hi guys, my name is David Adeyemi. I'm doing a basketball documentary looking at the underfunding of basketball. So we're following 2 basketball teams through the world's biggest 3x3 tournament, which is exciting stuff. And underfunding of basketball is a big topic. You might have heard about it previously in the news before, so I just wanted to shed some light on it.
Hi, my name is Yemi Adegbulu, and my project is called Into Skin. It's essentially just centered around a couple of black tattoo artists and just about how tattooing is becoming more culturally relevant within black society today.
Great. Well, Yemi, let me start with you. So, and I'll ask the question to all of you, but if I could start with you, Yemi, what was it about the Fresh Cuts project that made you want to apply for it?
Well, I had the idea sitting with me for a very long time, and I just didn't know where to put it. I didn't know who would be interested or if it even was an interesting story to tell. And I'm not even sure, but I just saw Fresh Cuts. And I read the brief, and it just fit with the story I wanted to tell. It just everything, all the points just knocked off, and I was like, this is something that I feel like would be good for me.
So for me, I previously went to a Ball Out event. The Ball Out is the name of the event that I'm following. And it was just a lovely event. The vibes, there's music, there's performances, it's just brilliant. So when I saw the Fresh Cuts ad or post, it was, me and my friends spoke about it. Obviously we went together, he said it would be a good idea. And for me, I haven't had the opportunity to kind of produce or direct content for TV. It's just, I haven't had the opportunity. And if I wanted to have that opportunity, it would take me about maybe, 5, maybe 10 years, or hopefully 5, to kind of get that kind of opportunity. So when I saw that, it's a no-brainer. You just have to grab it with 2 hands.
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to direct a couple of shorts, but making the jump from short form to an hour can be quite challenging, and not necessarily an easy one. So to have this opportunity was just one that I couldn't miss.
Yeah, for me, I saw it advertised, and I was just like, worked in development for a while and had lots of ideas. Executing them was always a bit difficult for budgets and money and just opportunity to be able to actually kind of, it seemed real and tangible. So I just applied and here we are.
Definitely. What was most appealing? Like I've directed some stuff before, but never like never my own like 1 hour, and that's what appealed most to me with this. And ITV 1 hour prime time. It's like, it's dreamland. Definitely, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to do.
Absolutely. Well, Jason, you alluded to it, and we spoke about it with the guys from ITV just a minute ago. Making that transition from making short form content into this hour feature that's going to go out to millions of people on ITV, like I'm imagining that is like a huge challenge and a huge learning curve. So I wonder, perhaps if we start with you, and we'll ask the rest of the panel, what were some of the sort of learnings that you had when you're making the work?
I think it's still ongoing. I think you need to consider the amount that you need to shoot to ensure that even with the shorts, I probably shot enough to make an hour's length of film, but the shaping a 12-minute film and a 6-minute or 56-minute are 2 different things. I think Lara alluded to it as well, that there are breaks in between, and it's really vital that you keep the audience coming back. It's too easy to switch over. So I think that's the biggest challenge at the moment, which I'm relishing. Yeah,
definitely. Louise, come to you next. Like, what have been some of the challenges while you're making your work in terms of that transition?
I mean, my film, as Sat alluded to earlier, like, it's quite personal in terms of my connection to it. So I think it's having lots of different heads on. Obviously, kind of, I don't know, there's been quite a few, I guess, challenges in terms of, like, it's an hour-long show, right? So there's a lot to film, and you're kind of thinking about how coming across on screen, making sure that people are happy, making sure that my subject is so sensitive that I need to kind of make sure that it's a really balanced documentary. So I think for me, it's just kind of that big picture thinking all the time.
Yeah. And David,
So I think for me, it's obviously, like we said, it's a 60-minute. I don't think I've ever made anything longer than about 20 minutes. So, and like Jason said, I would shoot probably content for that hour, but for hour-long documentary, I think I'm probably looking at about, I don't know how much hours of footage, probably 10 times the amount of that footage. So for me, I think the biggest struggle will be cutting it down into something that, that tells a story and keeps people engaged, as well as working with so many different people where I have to kind of, I haven't had a team that size before. We've got quite a big team. I've got to talk to the ball out event organizers, I've got to talk to the team as well as the execs. And so I feel like that's probably been the struggle, but it's a learning curve as well.
Yemi.
I think my biggest struggle was going from short form to long form is kind of relinquishing a lot of it, because with short form you're the writer, the producer, the director, the DOP, set designer, all of that, and you have people here to help, so it's kind of relinquishing all that responsibility you would have and really focusing on whether it be the creative or logistics of how a shoot's going to run. So that's been not the biggest struggle, but it was a struggle to begin with. But it's good to have so much support around you.
For me, it has been going from usually the things I work on are multi-camera. So and it's not someone else's responsibility, but it's not your responsibility. So the biggest thing has been having to take all that on board, shoulder it, make all the plans, and then follow them through. But the way I get around that is I just pretend I'm working on someone else's shoot.
Right.
It's all right. It's all right. It's fine.
That's a good way of listening.
It's all good.
And can I ask, like, how many of the projects were sort of initially 12 minutes? Like, how many of the projects were short form to begin with and then turned into 60 minutes, or was it just an original idea for?
I mean, for mine, I created like a taster to
Yeah.
demonstrate what it would obviously look like, which was like 2 minutes. And yeah, but the intention was always to make like a feature documentary. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me personally, sorry, what was the question again?
No, it was just asking whether you had an initial short beforehand,
Oh,
before
right.
moving over to Fresh Cuts.
So we had,
Yeah.
we had an idea about it. We wanted to make, maybe I'd say a budget version
Yeah.
first. Obviously, having a bigger budget is obviously the benefit. So for me, yeah, it was an idea we wanted to do probably about half an hour, maybe. But obviously now it's doubled. The production level has gone up. So yeah.
Good. And so if we can go back to actually applying, like, talk us through, for anyone who's looking to apply to similar schemes or perhaps this next year, like what work did you put forward to strengthen your application? What was the process of actually applying for Fresh Cuts? Anyone could take that.
My process was the way that my show works is a bit of a format, and so my process was to outline that format, but in like a pitch doc, but in a way that you can see each step clearly. So you probably wouldn't need, like, and I've worked on like all the series of rap games, so yeah, these guys know that I can do the rap stuff, but it's about, whereas Louise probably had to do, or did a taster, I probably didn't have to do that because you can see the steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Louise, perhaps you want to tell us about how?
Yeah, I created a treatment, which really outlined kind of all the different elements of what I wanted to talk about in the subject. Because I mean, it's about Brazilian butt lift surgery, but that's like an umbrella into lots of different things, which is like body image, society, the pressure that women that feel to kind of keep up to this impossible perfection that you kind of, I don't know, it's not that tangible. So yeah, and then obviously I created a taster because I kind of wanted to make it very, I don't want to say young skewing, because again, it's about having an audience that everyone can watch. I want this to be something that me and my mum can sit down and watch and have a conversation about.
Yeah.
But it's definitely got that pop culture, social media feel, so I really wanted to demonstrate that in the taster and make it colourful. So yeah.
For me, I think the treatment's really important for me as much as it is for whoever I'm pitching to. It's important that I feel that, I interrogate the idea. Is this something that I would want to commission? Should I be in Set's position, let's say? So, I think it's really, really useful to be sure imagery in terms of, just the copy. Does it read well? Is it instant? Do they get what you want to do immediately? I think that's really important.
I think for me, very similar. I made a pitch deck. We kind of came together. I wanted to pick people's brains about what would be good, what wouldn't be good. We changed a lot of things, and then we put a sizzle together as well, just to give them a little taste of what the documentary would be like. So we picked some of our contribs, picked the teams that we was looking for. We made that decision, and then that's where put it all together. And but I think the most important part is definitely the deck. It's got to be detailed. They have to be able to read it and know what it's about, what the story's about, and simple and concise. And that's what we did.
I also applied with a pitch deck or a treatment because of the topic, it being about tattoos, which is, I believe, like a really intricate art form. I came in from the approach of like the visuals and what it can look like, and whoever read it would be able to imagine the potential of what the doc could be. That's what I did.
Great. And then I wanted to ask you about working with ITV. Just don't look at them when you're asking these questions. But just in terms of like, obviously when you're working on your short, I can imagine, you know, it's a very small team, perhaps many times it's just you working on your own on a particular project. But now you've got, you know, like a massive partner like ITV. Like, how was that kind of that move towards working with a partner like that who has a certain level of resource? Like, was that a sort of a process of letting go of some stuff, or thinking, oh, it's all mine, I want to keep it? Like, how did that process work? Perhaps, Yemi, if I start with you.
Yeah, it was, as I said before, it was a lot relinquishing responsibility, working in such like a small, with small units of people, and sometimes by yourself, and then switching to a big presenter or broadcaster like ITV, you kind of, well, I did anyway, I worried about, will this idea be my own by the end of it? And I think that's what all filmmakers want to do. They want to tell their stories the way they want to tell it. So, but luckily enough, and ITV team are so lovely, I don't feel like I'm letting go with any bit of my projects. It's completely and wholly mine. And yeah, that's what I was worried about in the beginning, but we've come at it from an approach of just having those conversations about what the story is, and as Lara said before, like asking those questions of what keeps people watching when the ad break comes. And yeah.
I was going to say, I just think for me, it's so obviously doing everything yourself and then having a team around you, it's like, at least you have some rest of mind that, you know, certain things you don't have to think about, you know. If you're booking cabs for your contributors, that's something that I would have done myself personally, but having a bigger team and having ITV behind you is just kind of like it's a solid base, you know. And yeah, I feel like they've done a great job supporting us in that sense. So for me, it's been lovely.
Yeah, I think everything needs to be in service to the film. Yeah. So I think those conversations that you have with, you know, your EP are really, really key, that you're challenged, because sometimes you can be so siloed in your approach. So it's good to, you know, have someone question your reasons and question why. Sometimes you realize, oh, actually, yeah, what I was thinking was wrong, or you'll double down on what your approach was. Yeah. So it's a good experience, it's a really healthy one.
Could you give us an example of a time when you have been challenged on this project?
You're trying to mess up my production, mate. You know that.
She's right.
I see you. Yeah, I think, you know, even one of the things that we said when we pitched was, you know, are you willing for this to be developed? And for me, it was absolutely, because again, 12 minutes is one thing, an hour on a national TV is something completely different. So, you know, talking about, you know, the types of contributors, you know, do you have the right amount? What footage you would use, even just the general approach. And I think that's where a film is made. It's in the development, you know. So I'm really pleased to have that push and pull, because it, you know, iron sharpens iron and it makes it stronger.
Yeah, yeah. If I can open up that question to all of you as well, like the times when you've been challenged, like where you've, you know, perhaps you know, Lara's asked you a question and it's kind of like forced you to really think about the direction of your project. Has there been any examples that you'd like to share with anyone about a time when that's happened?
I think like I can talk about my one. It's very much investigative journalism. So I was really focused on like interviews and access. And then sometimes I've had chats with Lara where it's been like, okay, there's interviews, but like, what are we going to see? Like in terms of outside of those interviews. So yeah, and I was like, actually, yeah, you're right. So you end up having to like dig a bit deeper, and okay, so someone says something that's really interesting, but can I follow you in the day of doing something around that? Yeah. So kind of not stopping there, always like opening up the different kind of paths that you explore. That's definitely been, I've been pushed on that, but it's been good because I've learnt loads. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. And how about you?
I don't really know, and like. I say that because like most of the stuff that if anything, it's like served as like confirmation that you're doing the right things. Because most of the times when I go to them with conversations about any of this stuff, it's like, yeah, that makes sense, and that leads to that. Yeah, I don't really know. I feel like being in there has just taught me I'm in the right place and I'm doing what I should be doing.
Great. So I just wanted to ask you about your experiences in the industry prior to Fresh Cuts. Like, I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about, pitching for potential other projects and how that experience has been. So, Jason, perhaps if we could start with you about just your experience within the industry and actually going for work like this.
So to date, I've directed a couple of shorts, schemes very similar to this, and the pitching process was quite similar. Pitch an idea, a short synopsis, a log line, your approach, and obviously then being shortlisted and going in for an interview and then doubling down and maybe again being questioned on why maybe this way or that way, which is, I think, again, just really, really important because it makes you question yourself. And yeah, just being really fortunate to get a couple of opportunities, of which this is, certainly the biggest, most challenging. I'm not scared or anything, honest.
And then Louise, how about you?
Sorry, what was the question?
So it's just about your experiences within the industry and like applying for like initiatives like this, or trying to get your work out there.
I mean, I worked in development quite a bit, so researching or producing, pitching ideas to commissioners. I did a course at the NFTS, which was about factual development and production, in which Sat actually came in and we met loads of different commissioners that told us about the pitch to kind of TX process, and I think that helps. I've done quite a lot of development stuff, so I guess in terms of getting access to places or, journalism bits, not that intimidating to me, yeah.
For me personally, I haven't done much in terms of pitching or getting things commissioned or trying to. So I entered through a scheme called Mama Youth Project. It's like a charity, and they give you kind of researcher experience. So I did that a couple of years ago, and since literally for me I've just been learning, as a researcher as well as doing different jobs within the industry. Try to network as much as possible, network your net worth. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I've had a good couple of years in TV, and this is definitely like Jason said, the biggest one. And the first time I've pitched is the first time I've got, you know what I mean? I've got something, so...
100% hit rate,
yeah.
I like that.
My experience has always been executive assistant, producer's assistant, 9 to 5s, but still around that industry because my bills had to get paid. But I've had experience in also being a filmmaker. But when you do 9 to 5, obviously, there's hardly any time. But yeah, I've had to pitch, for example, a short film that I just completed, and for that I got funding. So yeah, this was the second thing I pitched for that I got, but yeah.
I came into the industry on like a creative access or PACT initiative. So yeah, that was like 10 years ago. I think it's like the first year of it. So I wouldn't be here without that. So that's in terms of these kind of programs. But in terms of my experience, as I was saying before, I've done every series of Rap Game, worked on SAS, First Dates, like a lot of shows. So, yeah.
And just before we open up to audience questions, I wanted to ask you, what your hopes for each one of your projects are. I guess it's a double question. It's like, what are the hopes for this particular project, and what do you want to do in the future? If you're sitting here looking at the next sort of recipients of Fresh Cuts in a year's time, where would you want to be? And perhaps David, if I start with you.
For this particular project, I feel like I want people to understand why basketball is so underfunded. It's one of the most team-played sports in the UK, but it gets one of the least funding. So for me, I feel like if I was to shed some light on that, I would have done my job, you know what I mean? In terms of longevity-wise, I would love to do maybe a series of different kind of, build a format where I can do a series of different kind of documentaries that kind of shed the light within different kind of sports, why certain things are the way they are in the UK. So yeah, I would like to continue doing what I'm doing, It's been fun. Doing documentaries has been fun so far,
I think what I want to see with my project is just people living and just being able to have agency over what they choose to have on their bodies. I think, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on with like what people should do with their bodies, but yeah, I think because the black body in terms of what this is for is so heavily policed, you know, and the choice of what you can or cannot do with your body is rightfully your own. But yeah, I just think I want people to see beautiful art done by beautiful people, really.
I love that.
Yeah.
Daniel?
What do I want? I want for everyone to watch my show.
Yeah.
Then for it to turn into a series. Then for it to sell in other territories. Then I'm just rich. And life's good. That's what I want to happen.
It's great.
Yeah.
If you need a best friend, I'm here. I'm ready to be a part of that, definitely.
But what's special about my project is that we are subverting people's ideas of what rap is, what rappers are, and we're using rap in a therapeutic way, in a pioneering and therapeutic way. So that's on one level, and on the other hand, rap doesn't get the amount of respect it deserves as an artistic form. So we're also showing people that have never rapped before what this thing is, so that they can see how hard it is or how good it is, and tell people that look and are like them via the television. So it's just like a roundabout way of us upping the amount of artistic merit that it gets and using it in a pioneering way, because whenever anyone thinks about rap, they just think the worst. So,
I mean, did you see Kendrick Lamar's performance yesterday?
Yeah, but
I mean,
Kendrick's Kendrick. Yeah.
Kendrick's Kendrick, but I mean, hopefully that does something to lift the...
Of course, but everyone's got to do their little bit. Kendrick can do his thing, but we need, like, what we don't want it to end up is this, like, separation where Kendrick's this super artist and everyone else isn't, when everyone else is just as talented as Kendrick, but they just haven't had an opportunity to express it that way.
100%.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Louise, can I come to you?
Yeah, I think for me, in terms of the bottom line, I feel like a lot of responsibility to make sure that after you watch this, if you're ever thinking about having cosmetic surgery, that you do it safely. I think I would have done a good job if I convey people to have a bit more empathy for people who struggle with body image, and just generally how women's bodies are policed in terms of beauty standards that's kind of seem impossible to keep up with. And yeah, it's quite a sensitive documentary, so I really hope that I kind of give a balanced perspective on it. In terms of the future, I would love to kind of make films that are just always from a mental health standpoint and making people think, definitely in terms of, I guess, mental health within the black community, and some of the challenges that we've faced. So, yeah.
Thank you.
With our Jubilee, as Lara said, not all the filmmakers here are young. But I don't remember 77, so I'm not that old. But I do have older siblings, much older siblings, who do remember 77. I remember my mum and my brothers and sisters always talking about, you know, this amazing Silver Jubilee. And I realised that there were these really rich stories that we just don't hear. And in speaking to our contributors, you know, there was these wonderful stories about what happened and what they experienced. And I just thought that they should really be heard. And they're universal stories, but as I described them, they're just flavoured a little differently. So, yeah, we just want to bring more of these stories to light. And in terms of going forward, what I'd like, I think, what I'd like for myself and for all our filmmakers is, I'd love there to be this growing relationship with ITV. It's a great opportunity, and yeah, we love this, but I think we want to make more films, you know, next year and the year after, and that's the plan.
Oh yeah, I want to be, like, if they're making other rap things, I want to be the guy they come to for the rap things.
Love that. Yeah, love that. I think what I get, you know, just speaking to you always, is this real sense of responsibility for, you know, representing the stories that you want to tell. And, you know, I really thank you for that, and I'm really excited, as I'm sure everyone else is, to see the finished project. So it's in October, right? So for Black History Month. How are we all feeling? Feeling good?
Yeah.
Ready for October?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. All right, well, listen, we're going to open up to audiences now. So who got some questions? We've got some roving mics as well. Saw that hand go up there first. If we can go here.
Thank you so much for sharing your projects with us. They all sound really exciting. I can't wait to watch them in October. Obviously, this is an amazing initiative for you guys as filmmakers, but you also have the power to influence a new generation of filmmakers coming up who will be watching your films in October. So I just want to know, what advice would you give to those people, especially from underrepresented backgrounds, especially black filmmakers who are thinking to break into this industry? Thank you.
I'm happy to start. I would just say...
Get a camera.
That, but also like confidence, initiative, and resilience. I think they're three things that are super integral just to the journey. It's a long journey. It's not an overnight thing. You really need to be dedicated to what your story is and kind of remain confident in that, because if you've not worked in corporate settings before, when you do go into these big broadcasting spaces, they can be a little bit intimidating. Not because anyone's horrible, but just because it can be a whole different world that you might not be used to. And that's just socioeconomics, right? I mean, I grew up in Derby, I'm working class. There was a lot of cultural shocks that I had to kind of contend with. So I think, confidence, and then, just resilience, just being dedicated to the cause, having fun at the same time, remembering on stressful days that you are doing something that is really, really important, and that hopefully it's going to resonate with a lot of different people. But I guess just never giving up, because these things can happen. Sometimes it feels like, actually, I've been knocking on this door for a long time, and are they going to open it? But they do. So look at us. So just definitely confidence, resilience, and just initiative. Don't wait for someone to do something for you, just do it.
I was going to say, I think for me, the most important thing to remember is, God, I forgot what I was going to say. Is to show them what you can create. Make your own content. Show them that you can do it by yourself, and be passionate about what you're doing. Once they see that what you can do, then you get they understand that you have the passion, you have the drive to do what you need to do. If you don't have any examples of your own work, you don't show anything, then how would they know? Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of thing of, like Daniel said, get yourself a camera, get yourself a little team, produce something. Even if it's not as good as you want it to be, it's not a problem, because you're learning at the end of the day. You got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. So make your own things I'd say is my top tip.
Yeah. Self-belief as well. There's a lot of things that knock you and try to make you wobble, but you just got to keep on going. Yeah, you just got to keep on going.
Thank you for your question. We've got a question over here. Oh, sorry, we've got a question there. Sorry, I didn't see you there.
I had a question for everybody. I'm Asian, in case you can't see me. That shouldn't matter, but unfortunately it does. I was just wondering how you balanced the, telling a particular story from the Black voice, but making it universal. And kind of a follow-up question, what do you think about this idea that stories should only be told by people from that particular community?
I think there's nuances. Yeah, do you want to go?
I'll get the second part of that, I'll answer, about people telling stories when they're from that community. What we've got there is we've just got an overcorrection from years and years of people from outside of communities telling those stories and telling them incorrectly. So that's why we're in that situation now. If there wasn't such gatekeeping, then we probably wouldn't have that situation. Anyone could tell any story. But now we're in the era of just it's all about identity and who you are. And if you can't be an actor playing a fat person with a fat suit on, because it's just wrong. We're in this really weird place where acting should be acting, or making stuff should be about making stuff and not about who's making it. But when we're in a situation where minorities are not being allowed to tell their stories, then there's a real issue. That's when there needs to be these things put in place. That's how I feel about that, I think. That's my opinion, I don't know.
And just to the first part of telling stories with a Black voice, it's funny, isn't it? Because it's a bit of a vicious cycle. Being Black isn't a monolith. We don't have one lived experience. I think Sat spoke about earlier, we've been represented on screen, not always the best. It's been, I think, for me personally, I think there's been a lot of negative connotations that just sells headlines. And I think with my film, I can only speak on my film personally, it's a cross-generational thing. It's not just for black people to watch. I just happen to be a black filmmaker making this film. Of course, it's part of Black History Month, and of course there will be aspects in my film that are specific to some of the experiences in the black community. But yeah, we're not a monolith, so.
I find it curious as well, because I don't necessarily think other ethnicities get that question. You know, I don't think people say, well, you know, how are you going to make this white story universal? I think stories are universal. It's as simple as that.
Okay, great. Thank you for your question. We have a question. Yeah.
Okay, my question is, how do you feel your films kind of fit in with ITV's current identity? And also, what impact do you hope your films will have kind of in the future on the main audience of ITV?
Who wants to take that one? Yeah.
For me personally, I feel that, I feel that the way that mine fits ITV's like slates and stuff is like, originally I wanted, not telling you who my cast is, but originally I wanted my cast to be a cast of white folk aged between 35 and 75, because they were going to be the ones telling us about this artistic art form. And then the rap element was the black element, my presenter's black and a rapper, and then one of my academics is also black. So all of the black stuff, all of the pro-talent black stuff was coming from that side, whereas the audience were going to speak to, my contribs were going to speak to the audience. So I feel that fusing those two together felt it sat in the ITV space. Yeah, that's what I feel about my one.
I feel like for me, for my program, basketball is universal. It's a universal kind of, almost like a language. You don't have to be from any kind of particular race or ethnicity to play basketball. And I feel like everyone will kind of be interested to see what it's like from a black point of view. And that's what we're doing. So I'm following this ball out event, which is a black charity that kind of, a black-owned charity, that kind of does it for the community. So everyone that kind of attends is not just black. It's just, it is more of a community based, but I'm just looking at it through the lens of black players. So for mine, I feel like that's where mine kind of joins in together. So it's very much universal as well as, but from a black point of view.
I just want to ask you on that. So have you had any have you had much compliance from like UK sport who have underfunded basketball in historically? Like, because I know that's one of the areas that you're really sort of focusing on in the documentary.
Can you?
No, so just asking you whether UK sport whether you've had conversations with UK sport about, you know, the underfunding of basketball, because as you mentioned, it's one of the most commonly played sports in the country, but yet it's been underfunded professionally. So have you had that conversation?
It's not something that I've had to have a conversation about, because the information is out there.
Right.
If you literally look it up, it will tell you that the stats are there, the facts are there. People like David Lammy have actually covered it before. Yeah. So I'm just trying to shed light to it from a smaller community charity point of view. I'm not talking about NBA or the BBL or British Basketball League. I'm not talking about those things. I'm just talking about what basketball means to people, because basketball is more than just a sport. It's got fashion, it's got music, it's got films. Yeah. It's almost like a lifestyle. That's what a lot of the basketball players say. So yeah, I haven't needed to. That's not my main focus in terms of that. But it's underfunded, and people within the basketball are explaining that. Everyone I spoke to are explaining that.
Yeah, thank you. We had a question here.
Hi, congratulations, guys. Actually, it's a question for Ade. You mentioned, when questioned, that if it's working, the question was around whether you'll do the Fresh Cuts competition again, right? And you said, if it's working, we will. So I'm just curious as to what if it's working means for you, And what does success look like for you, and does audience development factor into that?
Yeah. So I think, can you hear me? Can you hear me? So I'm going to, I'll answer that question, but I also just wanted to say the other question about how this fits in with ITV more broadly. I think it's important that we recognise that we have to work to be representative of our audience. So what we're always trying to do is be more relevant, and we have more work to do with that. But I think these films will help to do that, because we're always about trying to broaden our mainstream offerings. So that's really, really important. So that's what I'd say to that. But in terms of that, whether it's working, I think there's lots of measures of success, but one of them is what happens to the talent as a result of it, whether we can develop their careers, whether it works with the audience, all those sorts of things. It's a combination of factors, because if the experience of these, if the people here is brilliant and it works really well and it gets them off to the next stage in their career, that would be seen as success. So it's a combination of factors. It's not just one thing, but it's just, as I said before, is that we have to really interrogate the things that are working, and if they are working for the talent and for the audience, then it's something we would do again. But we wouldn't make the decision just in isolation. It would be a combination of all those factors. Anyone else got a question?
Any questions? Any more questions? Any more for any more? Okay. All right. Okay. Well, leaves me with nothing else to do other than thank our Fresh Cuts recipients. Thank you so much. And give them a round of applause, please.